Paul Dama survived Boko Haram's violent extremism in Nigeria, now works as the manager of his family's Nigerian restaurant Suya Joint in Nubian Square, run by his sister, Cecilia Lizotte, who joined us a couple of months ago. In June, while on his way to church, Paul was arrested by ICE, even though he was here legally and in the process of seeking asylum. We spoke with Cecilia, as I said, while her brother was in ICE custody.
On a daily basis, when we post asking for request help, that's what I'm seeing where, yes, they said that they're going after criminals. They're going after people that have more offense than what it is that Paul has. But that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing others, even just speaking with Paul, where he is, there are a few people, I was just at work and they picked me up. And their record is clean. There's nothing.
So that was months ago. 2 weeks ago, ICE released Paul, and the federal government finally granted him asylum status. Homeland Security has till October 23rd to appeal. We're joined now in studio by Paul Dama, and his sister, the chef and owner of Suya Joint, Cecilia Lizotte, is on Zoom. Cecilia, it's good to see you again. And Paul, we're really thrilled to meet you. We're so glad you're here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming in, Paul. So tell us why you came to the United States. What happened in Nigeria that made you want to get out of there?
A little closer to the mic, too, just a couple of inches. Yeah, great.
Okay. Yeah, I used to work as a journalist back in Nigeria, and I reported a lot about Boko Haram on the news station where I worked, the NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. So in October of 2019, while traveling with two of my friends, we got ambushed and we got kidnapped. They singled me out particularly to tell me they had been watching me and my reports on the news and how I've been using the media to expose them. They threatened me to leave my job and also leave the country. They forced my family to pay a ransom to secure my release. But just before they released me, they warned me again and told me if I'd continued working as a journalist, they were going to hunt me and they'll find me. And this time around, I wouldn't be lucky to get out alive. So due to that, I had to flee the country to come to the United States to seek asylum. And I've been here since 2019.
In Boko Haram, people remember would go into those schools and take those young girls and young women out of their schools and keep them for months and months and months and did a lot of horrible things.
Absolutely. As we speak now, there's still some of them in captivity. We don't know where they are. Quite a few of them were able to escape. Some of them were released by Boko Haram themselves, but quite a number of them are still in captivity with the Boko Haram, who has either turned them into their wives or using them as their slaves over there, wherever they are in captivity.
Cecilia, so your brother came here, you started working with him, and it seems from what you told us, he developed some pretty significant relationships with customers, members of the community, and that sort of thing. My recollection is correct, yes? Oops, you're muted. Still muted. Unmuted.
All right, can you hear me now?
Perfectly,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, yeah. So so he has been here working with me and developed relationship with customers, Nigerians, non-Nigerians alike. So when you come in there, you feel welcome, and so he does help me a lot at the restaurant.
Is he
Correct.
a good worker, this brother of yours, by the way? Is he a good worker
My
or not?
brother, yes, he is a good worker, and that's why I put all my my heart and my soul. Like I went extra to make sure that he does get out of all the suffering that he is. He is a very, very good worker, apart from being my brother, yes.
Okay.
And you've got a very, very good restaurant. I mean, James Beard nominations, and it sounds, I said to Jim, you're going to get over there. And
Well, they're
check
in two places
two
now,
places.
too. You're in
Yeah,
Providence,
in Nubian
too.
Square in Providence.
So,
Providence,
so it's you apply for asylum, Paul, when you get here, and then what happens? I think it was it Father's Day that you were grabbed?
Yeah,
Tell us what happened on that day in June.
So on Father's Day in June 15th, I was on my way to church when suddenly, as soon as I got into my car and turned it on, I noticed one of the SUVs drive by in front of me. And it looked like one of those I've been seeing on the news. It had dark tints. You couldn't see who was driving in the car. It drove by in front of me, and I'm like, well, even if it's ICE, I don't think it's me they're looking for, you know. So he passed by, and then I was driving behind him, and all of a sudden he made a U-turn. He got into a street, made a U-turn, and came out again. Passed by me, and then made another U-turn, and then noticed he was driving, following behind me. Turned up, Turned on their lights, you know, the red and blue lights started flashing, and then out of nowhere I saw 4 other SUVs like coming behind me. So I pulled over, and then they all came and barricaded me from the front, the back, and the side. Uh, One of the officers came down, knocked on my window, and told me to wind down, and I did. He asked for my ID, and I gave him my driver's license. He told me to step out of the car, and I did. And as soon as I did, he told me they had a warrant for my arrest from ICE. Told me to turn around and put my hands behind me, and I did. And then they put me in handcuffs.
What were they wearing? Did they identify themselves? Were they masked? Were they
No, they
wearing?
weren't masked, but the cars were unmarked. They had those,
Police vests?
yeah, the vest with, I think the bulletproof vest with the
Okay.
ice on it,
Yeah.
HSI, and other inscriptions on them. Like I said, there were 5 of them, so I just cooperated with them, did all that they asked me to do. They took my phone and my wallet, my wristwatch, put me in one of their cars and drove me to a shopping mall, the Westgate Mall in Brockton. There was this part of the mall that was empty. The car park was empty. So they all came there, all 5 of them. So one of them asked me to come out of the car that I was in, and I did. And then at that point, they shackled me from my legs up onto my waist and attached the handcuffs to the chain
Wow.
on my waist. Yeah. And they put me back in the car and drove me to the Burlington Processing Center.
You know, you described in the last 5 minutes
Yeah.
being grabbed,
Yeah.
kidnapped, for lack of a better expression, by
Absolutely, yeah.
Boko Haram in Nigeria, and then this. Were you making those connections? Like,
Absolutely. It kind of felt like the same thing. I was terrified, because seeing all 5 people armed and, hefty looking men, all bigger than me in size, I kind of just felt like the same thing was playing in my head. What happened to me back in Nigeria? I was terrified at that moment. I couldn't even ask them any questions because I was really terrified.
Cecilia, I believe you also told us that when this happened to your brother, that same clientele that I was asking about a couple of minutes ago really rallied around his cause with money and other things. Explain what you were able to do in Paul's name in support of Paul.
So basically, after he called me to say this is it, I initially thought, okay, maybe few days he'll be released, a week, but then days, weeks got into months. And at that point, I'm like, all right, I can't do this by myself because this is now, I'm feeling defeated. So I had to use my platform, Suya Joint, to say if there's anything, because people have reached out, how can they help? So I just got on there and I was just honest, came out in tears to explain my situation. This is what's going on. This is my brother and what has happened to him. And everybody came in masses. So they encouraged us to also start a GoFundMe. We started the GoFundMe just to help with his legal fees. And then, but we've gotten so much support that there are people that sent us emails. They can come and help us to make sure that we don't close the establishment until Paul is back. So all supports came in from all over the place. People that don't know Paul, people that have purchased food or just like sent checks in the mail just to make sure that he's able to get help while he's over there, and then also not to utilize the resources from the restaurant, but just to just assist him to make sure that he comes back safely. 'Cause
Cecilia, didn't you tell us that you were because Paul was not there to assist in the work that you were doing? There was a time when you were actually thinking of closing down the whole business, right?
correct. Yeah, that's right. Because just the burden that has been added to my day-to-day activity, it was massive. In the sense of where all the attorneys were looking for information, and I'm like, well, but there's just so much I can do. And then my establishment as well. So the staff looking for me to be there, which I wasn't able to. So I thought about closing severally. I spoke to my staff where there some of them did express the fact that, okay, either I'm a single mother, I depend on this income to do their own day-to-day activities. So I had to just pause and realize. But yes, Paul also as a general manager, he does help me with like shopping, whatever it is that we need him. Like he, even when he comes into the establishment, computer is broken, he's right there to help us, plumbing, anything like that. So, and then just making sure that we're safe and that the customers are being taken care of, and de-escalating situations as well.
We're talking to Paul Dama, who was grabbed by ICE on Father's Day, was released 2 weeks ago when he was granted asylum, and his sister, who was the owner, chef, etc., of Suya Joint, the celebrated Suya Joint in Nubian Square, Cecilia Lazat.
Paul, what was it like in the Burlington detention facility?
So as soon as we got there, they took off my shoes, took my shoelaces and everything I had on me. Told me, so I asked if I could make a call just to let somebody like from my family and also call my lawyer to let them know what was happening. It was a Sunday. Of course, I tried to reach my lawyer, but I couldn't get through because it was a weekend. So I reached out to Cecilia, told her what had happened. But before then, when I asked to make the call, the ICE officer who took me to the office told me they usually don't allow people make calls until when they're done with all the paperwork. But because I had cooperated with them during the arrest, he was going to let me make calls. So he gave me my phone. I took out some numbers, wrote them down on a piece of paper, and then gave it back to them. So I did make the call to Cecilia, and I told her what had happened. They had left my car parked on the side of the road. So I asked Cecilia if she could come grab the keys from the ICE office and go move it from there and probably take it back to my house. And the officer agreed to do that. He said he could give her all of my belongings if I wanted. So I told them yes to give everything to her. So
What was the detention like?
So at the Burlington Center, I think I spent about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours, before they moved me to Stratford County in New Hampshire.
Yeah, that's what I meant in New
Yeah,
Hampshire. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but then before then, they had kept me in one of the rooms, one of the detention rooms. It was extremely cold in there. I had to request for a blanket, but they said they didn't have any. So I think after about an hour or two, when they had finished my paperwork, they took me, one other lady, and another man, who told me he was going to be dropped at the border crossing to Canada because he's just returning back to Canada. He told them he just wanted to go back to his country. And I think he said he was from Canada. But myself and the lady got dropped off at Stratford County. And I've been there since June 15th until...
What was that like?
So yeah, there at the Stratford County, at first it was cold as well, really, really cold. I had to request for an extra blanket, and the booking officer was kind enough to give me an extra blanket that I was using until, I guess, when we complained a lot about the temperature in the unit, they kind of turned the AC down a little bit. So, and then, I mean, I would say compared to other places I've heard about, there at Stratford County, it was fair. The food was freshly cooked. It was warm. They brought the food warm to us. We had tablets that they gave us. We could use the tablets to call our family members and our attorneys. So we had access to family members, and I mean, at some point, I could even make international calls to Nigeria if I wanted.
How worried were you prior to asylum having been granted a couple of weeks ago, Paul Dama? How worried were you about possible deportation?
I mean, I was, at some point, I'd lost hope. I remember telling Cecilia, like, listen, I don't think I'm going to step foot on American soil anymore because I was just seeing people being moved out. They would come like in the middle of the night and just call out names of like people 5 to 6 or 7
For
sometimes.
deportation? Or?
Yeah, I mean, either deportation or they were moving them to a different
Nice, the
facility.
I
Yeah.
see.
So it was like every day I was just living in fear, not knowing if I was going to be next, you know. So,
What were you feeling, Cecilia, while your brother, prior to the granting of asylum, were you as worried as he was that he had set his foot on American soil for the last time?
Yes. So there was lots and lots of anxiety because you didn't know, there was such an uncertainty of what's going to happen, like the outcome of it, right? And then also the judge that was on Paul's case, she's very stern. So we're reading all these reviews and we're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? So we didn't know. So it's just I mean, all the way until September 23rd, it was just like fear. And I think as soon as we got into September, the anxiety actually like went up. Like, so this is the month and this is when we're going to know his fate. So,
So what was the turning point?
the turning point was, I think, you know, my lawyer, she did a very, very great job with my case. She took a deep dive into it, you know. When I told her my story, she told me to just have hope, you know, don't give up. Let's fight it to the end. And she did a very great job working with me. She was patient. She listened to me carefully, and you know, we were able to write my story together. She was calling me constantly. There was an attorney line where we could speak on the phone with her, so she would constantly call me and ask me questions. And thankfully, with the kind of support that I got, especially from my family from Sicilia, where she was able to get the evidence that they needed back from Nigeria,
Yeah.
like you know,
About the risk for return.
right? The letters and everything from family members who knew what had happened to me, my other 2 friends who were with me on the day of the kidnap, and all of that. So she did a great job. And then, you know, even as at the time I was going for the hearing, I was really not sure what was going to happen. Like Cecilia said, all the reviews that we read about the judge, we heard she was a tough judge. She's very thorough. She doesn't approve over 80% of our cases get denied. So I walked in there with just the mindset that, well, whatever the outcome is, like my lawyer told me to that morning before the hearing, like it's not the end of life.
Well, could be the end of
It
life.
could be. I mean, absolutely, because going back to Nigeria,
You know,
wasn't.
am I not right about this, Paul? That I think the Globe reported that, and I think we discussed this with your sister. I'm not sure. The Globe reported, you did have a record of a couple of driving under the influence
Absolutely.
things. And my understanding, to the credit of the judge, correct me if I'm wrong, she looked favorably on the fact that you're dealing with whatever those issues were. Is that a fair description of what happened there, or tell me?
Yes, I mean, and then I picked up those 2 DUIs because I had lost my mom in 2023,
I see.
and I couldn't attend her funeral back in Nigeria. I hadn't seen her since the moment I came here. It was quite traumatic for me. It's a deep, deep, deep pain that I still feel.
And
up
nothing
until
else
today.
on your record at all?
Nothing else.
So when you hear the President of the United States say, we only pick up the worst of the worst, the
worst,
most violent, what do you, every time you hear that, what do you say to yourself?
I mean, I just think that, well, I shouldn't have been in that category of people he's talking about, like the worst of the worst, right? Because even when I was there, I saw people who were picked up for just having a speeding ticket and who had even paid the fines.
I mean, when you were in Stratford?
Yeah, when I was in Stratford,
Yeah.
yeah. There were people who only had speeding tickets, paid the fine and everything, but they still brought them there. The thing was that they were able to get a bond at their bond hearings. They would pay like between $5,000 to $7,000, and they would go out on bond, and then they were able to fight their cases from outside. But the rest of us whose bond got denied were kept in there, and then we'll be there until our final hearing, just like me. You know, so.
We're talking to Paul Dama, who survived Boko Haram's horrible kidnapping in Nigeria, and now works as the manager of his family's Nigerian restaurant, Suya Joint in Nubian Square. His sister, Cecilia Lazat, also joins us. Cecilia.
And survived ICE, too, I think you should say.
Yes, and survived ICE. Cecilia, we've read and heard a lot about how chilling these attacks by ICE are on immigrant communities from all sorts of different countries. What's the feeling at your restaurant? It's a Nigerian restaurant.
So there's a feeling of fear. Like I think a lot of people don't even want to go out. And as we speak right now, it's also affecting the establishment as well, right? Where they don't know where they'll be moving to see ICE vans. They haven't come to the restaurant to raid my establishment, but there is like for sure fear. And then we're trying to utilize on our day off, which is on Mondays, to try and see if we can get community together, just like to put some programs together, working with lawyers for civil rights to just educate, right? Like what you need to do, how you should, if you approach, what actions you should take instead of just giving the right information so that everybody knows exactly what it is that they can do. So, for instance, Paul can also speak on his own experience, but there is fear in intensified, yes.
You know, Paul, we mentioned, I don't know if we said this on air, we mentioned when you walked in that we had read also in the Globe story that the DHS, Homeland Security, has till October 23rd to appeal the asylum finding by the judge. What's your lawyer saying about the prospects there? What's her sense of things?
I mean, she's not saying anything at the moment. We're just keeping our fingers crossed and hoping that nothing happens. But yeah, I'm constantly going to check on my record to see if there's any appeal that has come up. But thankfully, like I said, none has come up. And
do you think differently about this country than you did when you first came here?
I mean, no. I would just say, to be honest, people should just cooperate with the law enforcement officers. Like I told you already, the ICE officer who picked me up just told me he let me make calls because I cooperated.
Yeah.
And people should just cooperate with them. When they struggle and when they resist arrest, it's when it escalates to the point where you see them tackle people to the ground and all of that. So,
Well, there are many cases, in all fairness, where they haven't resisted,
Yeah.
where they've tackled people
But
too.
I guess what's so hard for me to reconcile is when these horrible atrocities were happening with Boko Haram. We heard about it all the time in the United States. They were looked at, persona non horrible people. You managed to escape from them, and it would seem like people like you should be welcomed into this country because it's obvious that they're the cops aren't going to protect you from them. I mean, they're running the show in many cases in Nigeria. So I guess that's what's shocking to me, that you would escape this, come to the United States, and then have this happen here, even though you did say that some of the ICE agents were kind and considerate to you. That's the part that seems hard for me.
I mean, I know, like a lot of the other inmates that were there with me at Stratford County also had pending asylum cases. So I guess, to my understanding, it seemed like the administration had canceled all asylum applications.
Right.
Because we were made to apply again even while in jail. My lawyer had to send a fresh application. So they canceled every application, asylum application, and.
Hey, Cecilia, we only have a minute left. Can we end on an up? Well, the up note is Paul is free, which is an up note for all who care about him. Marjorie and I are going to bring our whole team to your restaurant.
That's right.
We're embarrassed we haven't been. Spend 45 seconds
we have a list of everything
telling
we
us
should
about how
buy.
great this place is.
Oh, Suya Joint is amazing. So it's culturally inclined, and we invite anybody that hasn't had West African food to come in and dive in. And we're over there to educate you on what to get. So basically, what Suya Joint is doing is just bringing West African flavors, and we hope to make it a household name. So please, holiday season is around the corner. Bring the team. We'll be more than happy to serve you, and hopefully you get to see Paul as well. Oh, he's in your studio, but you get to see us, and we will welcome you with open
Okay, Cecilia,
open hands.
Jim wants the beef marinated in the soya spice, peanut powder, ginger can,
You don't have to
onion,
order in advance,
garlic,
Marjorie. It's
then
okay.
grilled with more onions. I just want to let you know that's what he says.
Hey, Paul, in all seriousness, we've thought a lot about you since we met your sister, and we're really glad you were free, and we hope that continues past October 23rd.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate everybody who supported. I appreciate the media organizations for using their outlets to tell my story, which has brought me to where I am right now. I appreciate
Cecilia,
it. Thank you.
Wonderful. We'll see you both at the restaurant soon, we promise.
Awesome. Yeah, just let me know when you're coming. I'll
It's
make
a
sure I'm
deal.
there. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Great to see you both. Be
Cecilia,
well.
thank you very much, and congratulations on your huge success at your restaurant. And Paul, we are keeping our fingers crossed for you.
Thank
Hope
you.
everything works out. Thank you for coming in.